got 4 crew in a tank, isn't it? Commander? Driver? Gunner? Loader? Yep. There should be a bucket for you somewhere.
What now?
What now what?
Is it the shits for us?
Oh, they have bigger things to worry about just now.
Then why are we locked up in this basement?
Oh, I wanted to be back home for a New Year's snog. But now, who knows?
Bugger it. Bugger it! Just the last few days before Demon. Bugger it. Now, I could hardly wait to see my little boy again in Voronezh. Last winter, on leave, he kept jumping up on my lap and saying, "When is Dead Moroz coming? I want to pull his white beard." My family was all going to be at the station with hugs, then off home for Bellini.
And vodka.
And even caviar. Oh, I used to get excited waiting for Dead Moros. A knock at the door. Who is that? Dead Moros, come in, come in. You would never leave without a shot of vodka.
Caviar? Don't get carried away. We're only teachers, not party hobnobs. Perhaps this mess will be over soon, if we survive this.
What soldier have we got here? It smells like a tar.
Who are you?
Pussy! Pussy! Who are we? Who are we? A bloody tank crew. Bad enough to be locked up here, but sharing it with a stinking drunk. Have you found yourself a cheap tart then?
No such luck. I broke into a shop. I got a leak away from the shooting, and well, guess what? There were shelves lined with gold and green odor cologne bottles, you know. The one the girls wipe behind their ears. Anyway, I opened one, you know, for laughs, and God, it was stronger than vodka. So I had some more, and more, and then I passed out on the counter. A patrol picked me up, and here I am. I've kept one. You guys want to try it?
You have a funny way of talking.
Yes, well, comrades. I am from the Soviet Socialist Republic of Armenia. Heavy eyebrows and long noses.
Like Comrade Mikio in the Politburo.
Yeah, just like him, yeah. There are rumors he is here with another big wig.
Here the Mudger seduced you with fags. Any left?
Maybe. We have some for a swig, huh?
Here. Take it easy.
Can I have one?
No booze for you stinking drunk.
Hey, anything about us?
They wouldn't tell me. So what's landed you in here?
Being good. Too good. And not tank crew good, just good. Bloody years in the barracks going on exercises.
Scratching our bums.
Waiting for calls from home every month. Then out of the blue, we get orders to drive our T-34 into this wide street in Budapest. What's it called?
Koshu Leos Ulica. No, Koshu Leos Uka.
To calm the fucking Mudgers down, you know, to show a bit of steel, they feel 40 tons of it on their toes.
There were crowds all around. Men, women, some pushing bicycles, some carrying briefcases that had come home from work. Hate. Real hate in their eyes, yelling, "Ruskies, go home! Ruskies, go home! Ruskies, out!"
The bastards!
We just stood on top of our tanks like idiots, grinning here, waving there. We had orders not to provoke. I couldn't understand how a friendly socialist country could behave like that. Where are all those bloody madgers who were supposed to be grateful to us for being there?
I even stopped the engine belching out black smoke in their faces.
And then
So we were stood there thinking we can get out of this when a demonstration appeared coming straight down at us from, Rakuchi Ut, marching all in a line across the street.
They just kept coming with their red, white, green flag with a hole in the middle. The red star had been cut out. We knew then there'd be trouble.
I ordered the gun to be lowered, pointing straight ahead to make them see sense.
But the bastards just kept coming, ignoring my gun, the 100mm that could take out a tank a kilometre away. They were fucking stupid.
Or incredibly brave.
If I let them have it, maybe use the machine gun first, there'd have been blood, bones and guts everywhere.
Then guess what happened?
What? The people nearest yelled in Russian, "Nie strelять! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" and offered up a packet of cigarettes.
Or you can buy the Soviet army off with fags and booze anytime.
Shut up, you little Armenian turd.
I didn't know what to do. The demonstrators just sort of arrived, climbed up onto our tank and shook our hands.
One of them stuck his fucking flag into my gun.
And then we lit up, having a drag together. Mudgers and us, Ruskis, passing it round. Immediately the eyes softened. The hate was gone. They cheered us. Those who would have spat on us now loved us. The hate was blown away in the smoke. You know, even us Ruskis want to be loved. What the top brass would think of unarmed demonstrators capturing battle tanks, well, I just did not think of that. Whatever happens, I will never forget it. Then and there, no one got hurt.
Oh, you were seduced like virgins on a first outing.
Shut up. Yes, they loved us a bit. A little bit. One even gave me 2 red packets of these cigarettes.
And next, after a while, with all this lot hanging onto our tank and others behind, we set off, them leading us. The tracks rattled on the granite pavement, the engine puffed, and we were racing ahead with the Mudger flag in our gun.
One lot of mudgers climbed onto a lorry, which had a wheel shot out, so it limped along like a goddamn 3-legged dog. The rest, they trotted behind.
You could already see that they'd been fighting the night before. A body was lying under brown paper wrapping in a doorway. Windows were shot out, cartridges everywhere.
We arrived in this large square with a huge, spiky stone building, and others just as fancy. Most of what I see in Budapest is like that. We lined up with our backs to their spiky, their parliament.
People were milling around, not in an organised way, grinning, shouting, standing on our turret waving their flags. There were no police or soldiers anywhere to keep order. It was just us. Sort of Ruski tanks standing guard whilst they were challenging their communist government. It was unreal. Quite unreal. We thought that like in Kostromlyoshulitsa, the strange merriment would continue without trouble. What the hell were we doing?
And then...
Machine gun fire came from who knows where. The 2 nearest who waved their flags a minute ago fell. One looked up at me almost saying, "What kind of friends are you?" Gunner sprayed towards the rooftops with a mounted gun. All round, the dead. They were dying, kicking their last. Blood, screams, injured being dragged away. People were cowering behind anything they could.
Saw one lift a manhole cover to hold it up like a shield.
And we, with the tanks, we tried to defend them, but could not. What happened there was avoided at the bloody Rakutsiot. The Magyar State Security. It must have been them. Behind the parapets, they were the killers. Cowardly killers, shooting their own. We, the Ruskis, remain disciplined Soviet soldiers. Felt guilty as hell.
Once you are dead, there is no way back. The rest of your life is gone. You only live on in the memories of those who remain.
And that fades. You know, I hope there's a girl for me when I get home.
Oh, baby. Blonde and buxom.
The daily grind. Have a few kids. Sing and dance at weddings. Get drunk. Go to football games. Even play in the factory team. But if this gets really bad, and I can't imagine the Mudgers take this line down, it could remain a dream.
Just like for those who got killed in that square.
Yeah, well, they should have stayed in their place. It's their fault that we're in here anyway.
And what came after?
In the end, there was nothing further we could do but rattle off. and we rejoined our unit. It just took us off the tanks, and here we are.
You're in a fucking mess, mate. The other crews are held elsewhere.
I don't understand any of it.
Fancy a game of cards? What's your bet?
If I win, you show us your pictures.
And if you lose?
I'll show you my ass. Well, you lost. Go on, pull them out. Whoa. Hasn't she got big bazoomas, eh? Next. Well, isn't she a clapped old bag? Next.
Oh, she's a beautiful young bitch. How much would she charge?
Her? You'd only get her for American nylon stockings.
American nylon stockings.
You don't know much in Armenia, do you? It's silk-like stuff the Americans invented, and women here will do anything to wear nylon stockings. It's tight, shiny, and you can see right through it. Squash theirs and all.
Well, how would dumb Russian tank crews get hold of them?
When we were stationed in Austria, there was a black market for them in the army. But now Khrushchev has marched us out, the old business has collapsed. Anyway, this girl only does generals now, because they can still get nylon stockings from Berlin.
So the general brings the American nylon stockings to the girl. Right, she puts them on to take them off. God, imperialist warmongers penetrate the inner workings of the Soviet army.
You will be killed if you talk like that, scum.
We should have shot them the first time they fooled around. Just what they did to us in the war. Why do we get sucked into their business? The bastard Magyar soldiers chased my babushka out her house in -30 in 1942, I think. She just lay down in the snow and died. She never hurt anyone.
You must have been a kid then, so how do you know all that?
Listening here and there. They never stopped talking about it in my family. And we also learned it in school. The Magyar soldiers were the ruthless jailers of our land. Ruthless. My father fought with the partisans. Anyone captured by the Magyars was stripped, made to dig their own grave and shot into it. Next they would burn the village to the ground. Houses, animals, old folk. They took any food, leaving people to starve. By the time my babushka died, she was almost a skeleton. That's what the Magyar army did in Russia, so if another time comes, I won't go soft, but spray the buggers.
You heard the one about the Magyar Guard? My uncle fought the Don. He told me this. When was it?
January 1943.
Yeah, thanks. Anyway, it was around the time of Stalingrad, when Russia started to push back the fascists. The Don was frozen over as usual. Our man broke through the Magyar army, taking back village after village in no time. His company were just coming up to a place called Ivanovka and saw this Magyar soldier leaning on his rifle outside a house. Hey, what is this? Magyar standing his ground, not running away? We found an hero!
Why not just give them a round from the balalaika?
Quietly, they got closer and closer. He did not move, just remained standing. This is a bit strange. They sneaked right up and gave him a shove. Still no movement. And then he fell like a log. And as he hit the ground, his head just yanked off. Would you believe it? He froze solid, leaning on his rifle, and broke like ice. They had a right laugh and carried on.
Poor sod.
Why was he a poor sod? What business did the Magyars have by the Don, thousands of kilometres from their country? We never threatened each other. They're coming to him. If anything, we're the poor sods, now sitting in this fucking dump, not knowing what will happen to us for just having a few fags together.
I think most people would think it was more than that. My father also told me about the war. He was in the infantry, like me. There's nothing to protect them. Charging, with gun forward, dust and smoke, bullets whistling, earth volcano who yell to pep us up. Best mate fallen. Cries. Will it be my turn? If yes, let it be quick. The enemy ahead. Pistol waving commissars behind, driving us on. What bloody chance do we have? As my father said, the worst was being attached to a tank regiment to mop up resistance. Then they would either run next to the tank or ride hanging onto the rails. And all the while, your tank crews were protected behind tons of steel.
Yeah, it sounds easy to you. There was nothing easy at Kursk. Have you ever been inside a tank? Do you know why we have these padded helmets? It's because everything inside is hard steel, and if you bang, your skull might crack. It's tight as hell. Diesel rattles next. And when the gun fires, your body jerks so much you wonder how your teeth stay in place. It stinks of sweat and piss. When there's a lull in fighting, they dig a trench, drive the tank over, and that was their shelter for the night. Lying under the steel hull dripping oil.
And you can only see ahead through a slot.
And in that racket, bent over, you load the ammunition into the breech while the bloody tank is rocking all over the ground. Real easy.
If you got hit, and I mean not machine gun fire, that just bounces off, but by anti-tank rounds, you had to get out in seconds or burn inside.
Crew roasting.
If the turret flew off, your head went with it. If the engine caught fire, you had to climb out quickly the hatch and become sitting ducks. The tanks were designed to fight each other in the open, not police civilians in city streets. Here, a boy can drop a Molotov cocktail on your engine, set it on fire, and then your tons of steel is as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike. We've not been trained for this.
You saying about Dead Moroz? What you doing New Year's Day?
A boy, he wakes me up at dawn to go fishing. Ice fishing. Papushka, get up! I've got your gear ready!
Heard about the ice fishing?
Only the people with patience. We go down to the Don, below Voronezh. There, the ice covers the river, but below there is life. We take a pickaxe and crates to sit on. All you really need is a line, hook, some bait, and a bucket. We cut a small round hole in the ice, wrap the line round a stick, and then drop the hook into the water. You pull on it once in a while, and then you wait. Wait. I'll show you.
Keep yourself warm with vodka.
Oh, you bet. It's for those who can take -20 hour after hour. Ice fishing is for the tough.
So, what do you give the boy?
Tea with rum.
You give him a bottle once in a while. You never can start too young.
Ever catch anything?
Perch, if we're lucky. Rarely anything bigger than hand size. Oh! Oh! I've caught something. They wriggle on the hook and try and get away, but once in the bucket, they keep on flapping, gasping for air, but it's all over for them. There's no way out. Perhaps like us, or the bloody Madgers.
Well, I need the bucket. The perch won't taste much once I let go. Suppose you know that Comrade Stalin's bronze statue has been cut down below the knees by the Mudgers? Ooh. Dragged him through the streets and hacked to pieces. Now they have been climbing on him, winning, sneering, taking bits for souvenirs. God, I know a few people back home who would gladly join him.
Of course we know. It's another reason why we should have shot the bastards. They showed no respect. My father marched at Victory Parade in Red Square. Stalin waved up from the Lenin Mausoleum. Stalin, 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 Stalin.
Now, there are rumours that at the last party congress he'd been denounced. But he was the one that led us to victory over the Nazis.
And Mother Russia bleeding, suffering on the way. God, I wish I could have a bazooka behind the barracks right now.
Oh, so you have a bazooka. I had a Yudka once. Dark and keen in my dream, ever so sweet, Mr. Sweat.
That's all we need is a drunken poet.
Well, what else have we got in this boiler room but dreams, eh?
I left Natasha behind. I've not had a letter from her for months. Just before I was called up, I took her to the colours dance. We soon disappeared into the apple orchard. I leant her up against a tree, kissed her behind the ears, her neck, her shoulders. Slowly, slowly, she let me loosen her blouse till it dropped around her waist. Her breasts were as white as snow. Her nipples were like chestnuts. She let out a faint no, but soon we were rolling around, squashing her fallen apples.
Are you trying to give me an hard-on?
Oh, I hope no one else is hugging Natasha now. There is nothing like having someone you love.
That is romance. My father was in Milanovsky's army, shooting his way through Hungary near the end of the war. There was no feeling, just find any woman and fuck. The villagers tried to hide their young girls by dressing them up as old hags. But my father's lot got them all the same. They queued up, taking it in turns. I'll show you. Soldier, come here. You'll be my macho girl.
Let me go, bastard! Oh, yeah, right, 2 against 1, yeah, you're the great heroes of the Soviet army.
Yeah. There's more of us, and we're stronger than you little Armenian shit. And because we're more and stronger, we can make you say thank you, even applaud afterwards.
We are the mighty union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Combat!
My father's army fought its way into Germany, blew Berlin to bits, huge casualties. And when it was all over, fuck their women. Every German woman fucked was for a fallen comrade, no excuses. And after the war, the birth rate went up. They're now little rusky crowd kids running around Berlin. I would have loved to have seen Hitler's face watching them.
What's all that got to do with Budapest right now?
Well, I don't know. But it must have felt good celebrating victory with the fuck, eh? Just reminding the bloody Germans who won the war. We Russians bled enough to deserve it.
And perhaps now we're reaping what came afterwards.
You Ruski fuckers!
You're very much! You bunch of motherfuckers! First you're captured by an unarmed mob, then you beat up a drunk man. Crew commander. Report to me in 5 minutes. We'll deal with the rest of you later.
Парад завершается. Легендарный звучит песню Мусисяна до стихи Рождественского «Мы армия народа».
So they expect us to clear up their mess. What's their wretched government up to just now?
With the Hungarians, they are in session. Panic session. Lost control, and our tanks are their only hope of saving their skin.
I have always been told at our strategic seminars that the Soviet army is here to safeguard against attacks from the imperialist West. Tank crews are no good at being policemen. But it's no wonder our boys have wavered. And where is their party membership, eh? Have you seen any of them counter-marching, long live the eternal friendship between the Soviet and Magyar peoples? Bollocks. It's the same bravery they showed at the Don.
Do you know, they have hundreds of thousands of registered members, but they've all disappeared like morning frost. Where are the police and the security forces? They are all shitting themselves, hiding their membership cards, whilst we are trying to keep a lid on things. But have no doubt, when we clear this up, and we will, they will all miraculously reappear.
All right. Let's bring in the tank man.
No, remember, we don't want him fearing for his life. Relax him, just get him to talk openly, otherwise we'll get nothing.
Why exactly are we having this session with the tank commander when I should be out giving orders?
These tank crews who pussy-footed are the only ones who got close to these bloody muddiers. Any bit of information helps us gain a clearer picture. God knows we need it.
Guard! Get the tank commander. Oh, and my bottle. And make sure the others are kept quiet. Any more trouble, and I'll sort it out.
Commander number 528T34 reporting!
All you need to know is that I'm in charge of Budapest operations. And this is the senior commissar attached to us.
So, I see that you were a teacher before being called up. Your unit has been stationed in Hungary for over 2 years.
Yes, I taught history at a secondary school in Voronezh. I was in charge of our tank, the crew was not to blame, it was all down to me.
Okay. Have you learnt any Magyar here?
I can read the Latin alphabet and understand a bit of Magyar. Well enough to read Ruski's Go Home.
Yes, we've had our reports about what happened. But we want you to tell us exactly what you saw. Look, it's very important that you talk openly. We don't want any bullshit from you. Tell us what we think we might want to hear, because that won't help us.
Just relax. Relax! Nothing said here will go against you. Stalin has been dead for 3 years. We don't shoot our own people anymore. So, first you were standing on the tank at the head of the column in Kossuth Ulika. The fascist crowd milling around. Now, did you see any Americans?
Americans? How can I tell who's an American?
I met some in Berlin. Like wide shoulders, square haircut, good teeth. Any of these?
People weren't laughing enough to show their teeth.
Don't get funny with us. Now, what sort of people climbed onto your tank?
I think you'll be shocked by this. They were workers. I mean manual workers.
How do you know?
By their handshakes. They had strong, rough hands of workers. Eyes were steady, smiles genuine.
Yeah. And the shocking thing was, on the very first night, when this all started, the factory workers were handing out guns from the army. How could true members of the proletariat turn against their communist government?
The proletariat have been misled by counter-revolutionary agitators.
Agitators. The people in the crowd were just standing around waiting to see what happened next. Groups formed and reformed, listening to any gossip. Even when the demonstrators arrived, it did not seem very organised.
When you saw the Ruskies Go Home signs, did you try to take them down?
Our orders were to show steel, but not to provoke.
They themselves already provoked. Now, near your tank was a smouldering pile of books, posters, records, ransacked from a party bookshop. Lenin's 45 volumes burnt. Portraits of Lenin, Stalin, Marx and Engels burnt. Russian folk singing and even Tchaikovsky trampled on. This was an ideological attack on the communist system and a challenge to the whole socialist camp and against Russia. And all you could do was stand on your battle tank, succumbing to fags, smiles, and fucking handshakes!
We were surrounded by hate, but did not want to be hated. We are not arrogant Nazis wallowing in our own superiority. There is still bitterness in my crew about what the Magyars did during the war. Bitterness has a long memory, but you can't live on hate forever. The Magyars did not hate my crew as people, but what our tank represented to them.
So, what do they want?
I think I think they want their country back.
Ooh, their country back? The Magyars want their country back. They have their country!
There is the Magyars People's Democratic Republic, the Magyar water polo team, the Magyar Olympic champions, the Magyar Communist Party that swept away the old, corrupt, exploitive ruling classes. Now there is free medicine, schooling, holidays, work for everyone. Workers and peasants run enterprise, whilst the old fogies have to learn what real work is like. The tables have been turned. They learn Russian in school. Now they can read Quiet Flows the Dawn in the original. What else do they want?
Well, of course, they have the football team. I mean, they almost won the World Cup.
Oh, God, don't mention that bloody football team. A month ago, in fact, exactly 1 month before these troubles started, they played a friendly in Moscow against the Soviet Union team in front of a crowd of 100,000. And the bloody Magyars had the nerve to beat us 1-0. So, they were already out of control. The cocky bastards showing them a small country of 10 million can beat a superpower.
You're only in football. Wasn't Yashin in goal?
Yes, of course he was. He's the best goalie there has ever been. I was there by chance. Pushkas, that paunchy little Magyar git, would strut in the middle, spraying passes to the wingers who run like hares along the touchline to centre for Pushkas, who would lazily arrive and score. But this time, Shibo on the left went all the way and shot like a cannon into our net. Even Yashin could not save it. There was a deadly silence in the huge stadium. And then, do you know, the bloody disgrace. They would not let us score against them for a draw. This would never have happened in Stalin's day.
All right. What is the popular base of the Hungarian Communist Party? Where is their support in the streets? Can we continue with absolute frankness?
Go on.
The communist ideology has followers here, but all the same, there is no real power base without our tanks. We, the victors, have imposed communism. Russia and communism are the same to them.
Okay. Let's go back to you standing on the tank. There is a hateful crowd all around, and then the demonstrators approach with their flags. That is the critical point.
Yes, a critical point and only moments to decide. As they got near, I ordered the gun to be lowered. Between the unarmed and battle tanks, there would have been no contest. If I lost my nerve, there would have been a bloodbath. And I still had my orders to keep things calm.
Yes, we had things passed down from above. Let's face it, the Kremlin hasn't decided what to do. Though the Chinese are egging them on. Without political will, a tank is no more than a heavy, complicated piece of machinery.
People can smell indecision. They can somehow tell you are not certain whether to pull the trigger.
But in front of Parliament, the triggers were pulled when no one expected it. The crowd did not threaten our tanks. They were just chanting a few slogans.
But slogans can threaten.
The Magyars were milling around, smiling and waving their flags, thinking, hey, we can do this and say this in our country. We had the tanks, but they were the ones who felt free. Just then, they felt liberated.
You talk almost as if you envied them. Listen. In Russia, we do not have the idea of liberty the way Western capitalists have it. We have a harsh history. In our country, people have always been told what to do and what to think. Now, what is good for Russia is the truth.
Yes.
The truth.
Those in power decide the truth. The truth that fits. If we say that these Magyars on the streets now are counter-revolutionaries, then that is the truth. We are getting away from what happened. Next.
Then out of the blue, there were shots and falling bodies. Death came suddenly to some, and after a few shudders to others. In minutes, blood seeped through heavy overcoats. Red pools spread around. My young crew had never been near bloodshed. We tried to shoot back, but whoever fired were too high up behind the parapets. What happened is not on our conscience. We, the Soviet tank crews, were not murderers.
So that is what you think. The lily white crews of the T-54s. Well, the other crews say something else. In the confusion, they sprayed the crowd. And worse, some of our own troops got shot.
That must have happened behind my tank. In all the mayhem, you could not tell where the shots came from. Some of the ricochets hit our tracks.
The KGB has been upset about letting our tanks be taken over by this rabble. They want to get the streets back under control. Their message got through to the other tanks, but not somehow to you.
I do follow orders. But I'm glad that what happened there will not lie on my conscience. Who fights better for the honour of the Soviet tank crews? Those who hold fire even when provoked, or those who shoot into a crowd?
What the KGB will want to find out is whether the order got through, but you ignored it. And if you ignored it, then you're in serious trouble. And even I, as a military man, cannot protect you then. The KGB is above us all. Well, you are a soldier. You do not have a conscience. You follow orders. You leave the conscience to those that are in charge. You're just a finger on the trigger.
What will happen to my crew?
We'll find out soon enough. Guard, take him back. We send our men out to face hate. And when they think for themselves, we turn on them.
These crews have been here too long. They've gone soft on the Magyars. Once the Politburo makes up its mind, we will have to change troops. We cannot have soldiers with sentiment.
Well, we have other units near the Austrian border, just in case the Americans want to take advantage.
The Americans? Are you joking? At our training college in Moscow, they briefed us the way things really are. Even have translations from the capitalist liberal press. No, the Americans would not fight east of Vienna. And in any case, Austria is neutral now. You know, apart from bombing raids in the war, no Anglo-Saxon military have fought here since 1686.
1686?
That was when Buddha was recaptured from the Turks. No. We are fighting the Cold War. And in the Cold War, we fight with proxies. But both sides know never to go near each other. The bomb has changed everything. Now, at the moment, it appears that the Magyars are proxies of the Americans.
Yeah, but this anti-communist crowd has all the hallmarks of the Americans
You
behind it.
heard what the tank commander said. They want their country back. When the proletariat joins in, it is clearly a nationalist uprising against communism. And in their eyes, as I said, we are communism.
Perhaps the Catholic Church. Reactionaries, fascists, who've been lying low, stirring things up. But my gut feeling is that the sort of people we have seen in the streets would not march to bring the old regime back. It's more serious than that. And what will the Americans do? Nothing? Sit on their hands?
No, not nothing, but nothing military. You see, in the West, there will be anguish for brave Hungary. And when they wish something to happen but really don't want to be involved, they show anguish. Like a dog howling but stopping as soon as you pass. See, anguish does not cost anything. No one dies, but what a show! See, the Western liberals are the arch exponents of anguish. It is a manifestation of their impotence. There will be demonstrations in Paris, London, New York, even in Brussels. And the BBC will broadcast high-minded reports. The American radios will bombast solidarity, hinting of help without meaning it. And the students will march to our embassies, defended by their police, because deep down, they are happy with the way things really are. Self-important intellectuals will speak on the radio, write articles, orate at rallies. And in the United Nations, they may even raise the plight of brave Hungary trampled on by Russian tanks. But that will be about it.
Well, it's just as well our boys were not the ones really responsible for the massacre then. But that's not the way the world will see it.
I reckon we are just at the beginning, and worse is to come. There will be more bloodshed, because we will have to come out on top.
When?
I said, when the Politburo finally makes up its mind. And then there will be no stopping us. Hungary and the other socialist countries are the buffer zones against Western aggression. If there is another war, we want to fight the enemy before it gets to Russia. So we cannot give them up.
I thought the bomb had changed all that.
The bomb! The bomb creates doubt in the minds of our enemies. Would we ever use it? The West no more wants to be destroyed than us. In the meantime, we fence each other, looking for weaknesses to score.
It looks, though, that the West is scoring here.
I repeat, the Westerners are pissing into the wind. The Magyars are on their own. They just don't know it yet.
Well,
I told you, the Magyar communists were in panic session. They have replaced the Prime Minister, now seeking closer military cooperation with us, as if they had a choice. Mikoyan and Suslov are here trying to give them some balls. We have to work closer with the Magyar military, but whether we can trust the fuckers is another matter. Will their conscripted soldiers fire on their own people, or even turn on us? We will find out soon enough.
then we better gear up for a hard bloody slog. Guard, bring in the crew and that stinking Armenian.
Now then, ladies, you have really managed to upset some people at the KGB with your frolicking, but this shooting is leading to serious trouble out there. Now, we need all hands. The crew will return to combat tanks. Soldat, you sober up and get ready to join the artillery. You are going out with a gun battery to defend the main boulevard. We need to hold the line of fire from the middle. Now out!
They will learn soon enough that if you're under fire, you shoot back, otherwise you end up dead. Conscience has no place when you're under threat. Budapest is a handsome town. Pity we have to shoot it up twice in our lifetime.
The politics and strategy, the parents, the sympathy, the decorations, the salvos at funerals mean nothing for the dead. Did not Stalin say, 1 man dead is a tragedy, but 1 million dead are just statistics?
And the heroes?
Oh, well, the heroes of today can end up the villains of tomorrow, depending on which country's heroes and villains they are.
What now?
More blood, more paint. Now, I have to report something.
Are you reporting the tank commander? You promised that everything he said here would remain between us. Look, the man, and he was on the front line, believed you.
I lied. See, my task as a member of the party and political commissar is to defend communism against weak-kneed sentiments. That is my morality. If I have to lie, I
I will. Truth or lies are as slippery as fish. We have to achieve our ends, whatever the means. Now this tank commander would go back to Voronezh and justify why he would not shoot into this Magyar mob, why he would not kill the enemies of socialism, why the Magyars want their country back. The only place for such deviance is Siberia.
But then who can ever believe anything we ever say?
Nobody. And we don't care. As long as we're on top.
I sobered up in no time. The guard handed me over to an artillery unit to help load ammunition. The great tactical geniuses placed our gun in the middle of a boulevard to cover it with fire. Now, our gun was designed to shoot at the enemy ahead, and the crew was protected by the metal shield. But of course, the Magyars were all around in the buildings firing into our backs. We were just sitting ducks. I felt a sharp pain in my right leg, and I crouched down to press on the wound, and my helmet fell off. And then a bullet shattered my brain. In no time, the whole artillery crew was dead, laying in a heap. Night came. And next morning, a Magyar lorry pulled up. A man in a white coat got off and threw lime powder all over the slow the rotting. People ventured out, staring at our mangled corpses. There was no sneering, just shock and sorrow. They knew we were poor bloody soldiers and no longer a threat to anybody.
Once the boiler room lot was sent out, I resumed my duties looking after the military commander. He never went near the fighting, so that kept me out of danger. After a few days, we withdrew from Budapest. A year later, my time was up. I returned to work in a factory, but could not fit in. Drank anything I could get hold of, and some of the vodka they sold in the streets was dodgy. One cold snowy night, staggering home, I tripped, passed out, and froze to death. By morning, my body was covered in so much snow that they only discover me after the spring thaw.
Suppose our crew as a unit was rather suspect by then. So we were split up and ordered into different tanks. 3 days later, the High Command decided that a heavy armoured column had to take on these fucking Magyars. We were told to proceed down yet another one of those wide streets and blast the shit out of them. I was in the front tank, charging ahead, but they were ready for us. The Magyar military, of course they fought with their own, used the anti-tank guns that we supplied them with to defend communism against the capitalist West. We caused real damage to the barracks on our left, whilst we were under machine gun fire from the fighters on our right. As we got right alongside, our T-54 was hit from very close range by armour-piercing ammunition that was designed exactly to take out my kind of tank. Soviet armour fought Soviet armour. A steel bracket spun off behind me and cut my head in half. Bits of my canvas, helmet and brain were blown through the driver's hatch. The turret flew off, killing the other three. The tank was now just an empty bloody shell with a gaping circular hole where the turret used to swivel around.
I was in a third tank getting peppered with machine gun fire. We had never been in combat before and were all shit scared. I passed the ammunition to the gunner and he hit the buildings. Of course, as a loader, the only thing you see is a crew compartment. After every firing, the tank would rock and explosions followed with the sound of falling masonry. We were hitting targets and killing anyone in the way. Then all of a sudden we came to a juddering halt. The clatter of bullets hitting against the turret went on without any let-up. The driver shouted that the engine had caught fire and that he could not go on forward. Why? Yelled the commander of this tank. He shouted back that a tank was blown up ahead, blocking our way. We could not reverse because the tank behind was too close, so we could not turn around to escape. The only thing was to get out before the fire reached the ammunition. It was a desperate situation, but there was no choice. The commander of the tank opened the hatch and started climbing out, but was hit immediately. Then the gunner tried. He was also hit, and whimpering, he slipped back. All I could do was push him aside to have a go myself. I must be quick, climb, jump, and hide behind the tank to have any chance. I made it through the hatch. Pockmarked buildings, flags, and a kid about to throw a Molotov cocktail flashed past. As I crouched, ready to leap off the mudguard, there was a blinding pain in my back. I fell off and was gasping in my own blood. Natasha faded away fast. My mother wailed when she heard the news and never recovered.
I was in the same column, churning and puffing down the boulevard, expecting battle. The Mudgers knew what they were fighting for, and on our side, well, we were just soldiers following orders, no more pussyfooting. Fortunately for me, our tank was much further back, so we weren't hit by the crossfire. Once the front tanks were shot out, even our Soviet commanders wanted to avoid further losses. We had the space to turn the tank to retreat. Not a glory day. After a week or so, we were put on trains and sent back to Russia. I joined a kolkhoz and became a tractor driver where, yes, I did meet a blonde and buxom Svetlana, and her ampleness carried me away, but what she saw in an ex-gunner, I could never figure out. We were married, but didn't get around to having children or me playing in the football team. It turned out the only thing between us was drinking vodka, and if we had the energy left, to fall into wild orgies. We fought and fought. She could throw a hell of a punch. Her heaving bosom turned me on even as I spat blood. But it was no good. Eventually she went off with the son of the college secretary. I left for the nearest town, got a job driving lorries, but was demoted to cleaning when they found out about the vodka. I lived in a concrete tower block, drank alone more and more, and the smell of smoke, vomit and stale food filled the flat. Everything kind of faded. My only memories from Hungary were Bajika's warm, fat thighs. I was not yet 50 when I didn't wake up anymore. It was weeks before they found me, slunk in my tatty armchair. Only 2 people turned up at my funeral. Nobody came from the army.
After that evening, we regrouped on the edge of town. But coming to grips with those bloody Magyars was beyond us. Finally, on the 28th of October, we'd had enough. So we sent a column of more than 50 tanks with armoured vehicles to destroy their military. By the time their column got to their barracks, it was a disaster. Our tactics were all wrong. Once the leading tanks were hit, the others couldn't go forward. We had to retreat in utter shambles. The leadership ordered us to withdraw from Budapest. Of course, it was only a feint. We let the Magyars have a few days of self-delusion, thinking they'd beaten the Soviets. The battered units were sent back to Russia, and a huge new army of hard men brought down. At dawn, on the 4th of November, we struck with more armour than the Nazis deployed to defeat France. We tricked their leaders into meeting us, and then we arrested them. Some of our lads were a bit confused when we got to the Danube. Was this the Suez Canal? Where were the sand dunes and palm trees? Later, I took part in planning the invasion in Prague, and much later in Afghanistan. The next few years were spent tending my garden, inspecting parades, giving talks on how to deal with insurgency. The energy, though, was slowly going out of our country. In spite of my chest full of medals, I died a disappointed man. Our huge military power could not keep all those buggers under control.
Just as we expected, once our tanks regained control, the Magyar communists and state security resurfaced. The humiliation and panic during those short 12 days of the counter-revolution made them ever more vengeful. Thousands were arrested and hundreds executed, and I guess they gave their usual psychopaths a free rein in the prisons. Our Magyars had learned well from us. Back in Russia, I progressed in the party and was appointed to a post in Moscow, vetting officers for political correctness. I got a darsha and holidays in Sochi, was invited to Kremlin receptions, and even had a granite seat in Red Square on the 7th of November. All was going well for me, but by the end of the 80s, the Magyars were at it again. No little help from that imbecile Gorbachev. They opened their borders, leading to that palaver in Berlin, but by then our tanks had orders to stay out of it. The tank, as a political weapon, had its day, at least then. Without firing a single shot, the Magyars at last had the liberty they wanted so much back in '56. Under the dictatorship of the proletariat, the only control was state control. And now they had to learn that freedom requires self-control. There was so much for them to take in. Everything collapsed with such speed. The Soviet Union came to an end. Russia was reborn again as a state. The communist system was finished, and the cruelty of capitalism we had fought so much against became the new doctrine. I maintained my contacts, and my son was in the right place, knowing the right people at the right time. He became one of the new breed of oligarchs with unimaginable riches. They said that America was the land of opportunity. Our new Russia was the land of opportunists. Lived just long enough to see all this. I died in bed from prostate cancer. And as I was staring at the hospital ceiling during my last days, I thought of our struggles, the lies, the elbowing, the endless evenings studying Marx, Lenin, and Stalin's volumes, and what a waste it all was in the end.
Not long after we were marched out of the boiler room, two men in unusual uniforms pushed me into a covered lorry. Next day, the interrogation started, trying to find out whether I was an American agent. It was all my fault. Forgetting the Soviet rule never to trust anything promised to you. The idea that someone could think for himself without being a traitor was incomprehensible. Eventually, they either believed me or got tired. Anyway, decided that I needed a political re-education in Siberia. That lasted for 6 years, until 1962. I survived thanks to my endless hours of ice fishing. When they released me back to Voronezh, I turned up back to my flat, but my young lad did not recognise me at first. It took months trying to fit in again with my family. My suspect background excluded me from teaching history to the young. The risk of contaminating their impressionable minds was too great. I found a job at the local library. After the change, the new money-hungry capitalism reached Voronezh. Old factories were closed, and new fashionable shops opened. To this day, Lenin's huge bronze statue points to the communist future of each according to his needs. Now, this means whatever the new rich fancy. What has happened to Russia? And why was Russia the way she was? The Magyars were allowed to build a war cemetery by the Don. The names of their fallen were engraved into granite slabs, laid out in the usual deadly geometry of such places. Some were murderers. Some fell in battle, some died of hunger, some of typhoid, some tried to escape. Some were Jewish forced labourers. Most would have called themselves victims. A few fought bravely, but none of them were heroes. They could not be heroes occupying our country. The only heroes were on our side, fighting to get our land back for us. And their memorials, they are now just rusting hulks where addicts and drunks gather. What has happened to my beloved, rejected, bullying Russia? European? Not quite. Still, we get attacked and in turn subdue nations weaker than us. In public, we are an unsmiling, hard lot who cannot show weakness or tolerate dissent. In 1956, King Leonidas was among the Magyars fighting for their motherland. In my long life, the only truly uplifting moments were those couple of hours when the bloody Magyars and us stopped hating each other. No, we were not brothers, but at least we saw each other as people, with different aims beyond our national straitjackets. It couldn't last. It was not allowed to last. The glass was neither half full nor half empty. It was smashed. You cannot stop. Nothing is ever finished. For history has no neat endings.